Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's match. On the left, I will be playing Runechant Rambo against Aria's own Hulk Hogan, played by Manchester's Sumper. So, a quick word on a few different texts regarding sideboards. I have opted for the suede hide boots over creepers, as I've always found it to be a lot more consistent on those big pop-off sonata turns because I don't always have that non-attack action with the creepers to expand that turn. I've also additionally opted for Reaping Blade to ensure Bravo doesn't out-heal my OTK reach using any tomes or blessings they might run. However, my opponent has opted to side out all of those healing cards for more consistent hands to keep applying pressure. But thankfully, all was not lost though, as Bravo has double null ring to try and block out the arcane required for creepers and Rosetta, which neither I was running. I do win the dice roll and decide to kick things off, making what I think was possibly a misplay looking back. I've used Grasp and then pitched my hand to set up the melody and make 5 Runechants, which, all things considered, is still pretty good opener. However, I probably could have just set up the melody, pitching 3 and Arsenal the reduced, which means I could have blocked for 4 as well as make that additional Runechant a bit later during the defense reaction step. So as many do, I've found that going first for the Rune Blade is really good to get that early setup. You get the Grasp stack, you quite often get an Arsenal slot if I played last turn better, as I've mentioned, but you also deny the Guardian's ability to set up that early Seismic Surge token, as well as his Arsenal slot as well. So, he does manage to get off the Rouse of the Ancients for 7 with Go Again. Now, at this point in the game, I'm at 40 health. I've got that yellow melody set up. I'm not too concerned about taking 4 damage this early on. So we take that quite happily. They do set up a Seismic Surge, which I'm sure anybody who's played against Guardian with a Tectonic Plating know 100% is going to happen almost every turn. Now, that 6 on that hammer is something I did not want to see as a follow-up. It implies a lot of pressure. If I don't block, I'm at risk of losing a quarter of my health total in Guardian's first attack against me, and I don't want to see that happening as a Viserai playing OTK. You want to be using health as a resource to make sure you get back plenty of Runechants, and this is something I'm really sort of weighing up now. If my current hand can afford to let that damage through, does it need to be blocked, and whether or not I can actually get enough value out, whether I'm doing in response to justify taking whatever damage is coming through. I do decide to block with the red enchanting melody for 2, just to soak up a little bit of that damage, as I'm pretty sure I've got something spicy in hand waiting to come through and generate some lovely Runechants. The Guardian doesn't get an Arsenal slot off as well from that play, which is absolutely brilliant, as it slightly relieves a bit of pressure from a 5-card hand next turn. And I did go against the grain a little bit here. I haven't played this matchup in a while, so I decided to sideboard in the Rune Blood Barrier, which is such an incredible risk due to Bravo's ability to dominate an attack, and just remove all the stat chance I have, despite blocking out any of the crush effects which come through. But it's a gamble I want to take with no Arsenal slot on his slide and on his side, and any damage coming through, I hopefully be able to block out to preserve my chance. I do also follow off with the Read the Runes to have a nice little quick stack of 12 on my second turn of the game. And going into his turn with the Rune Blood active, I just want to block out as much as I physically can this turn. Keep as many Runechants as possible, and he does come in with the Naked Hammer for 6, and this is something I absolutely love to see. He's only got 1 card in hand, none floating, and I'm more than happy to throw out 2 free blocks to make sure I preserve those Runechants. So that's a huge win in my case. I've got 4 chants protected from my Rune Blood Barrier, 12 stacked in total. They do have a Seismic and a card in Arsenal now, so I am a little worried going forwards, and I have seen a Mangle in rotation, which I am scared to block with any of my equipment, especially that Skeleta, to make sure that my pop-off turn is big. I don't have much in way of options following up on my turn. I simply set up a second yellow melody in preparation for a big turn due to how awkward the pitching was last turn, as well as the Arsenal slot and the seismic surge, so I know something big is going to be incoming. And lo and behold, here is the big boy turn. The one by combo itself, the Bravo ability um, into the crippling Crush for 11. Now, a couple of different lines of plays which I've been sort of considering here. My hand is currently 2 Oath the Arknights, 1 yellow, 1 blue, a blue Moravian Skies, Morvian Skies, even, maybe they are grumpy skies and a remembrance. So I've got to block for 5 to stop the crush effect due to the red melody I set up last turn. However, I don't really have too much to do based on that hand alone, besides set up 1 Runechant next turn. I could Skullcap to Skullcap to block alongside a card to turn off the crush effect, and then generate the chance. But it does mean I lose another block, which I could use for a more important turn later on for a crush effect really impacting the game. And I've also seen the mangle, so losing that +1, losing any piece of equipment to the -1 counter is a bit of a risk, and it's probably safer to save the equipment for the on hits. I do chose to block for a total of 6, as I felt that 1 Runechant probably wasn't worth using that Skullcap for, and probably been a little bit of greedy when I've already generated so many at this early stage in the game. I did Remembrance just for some core components to put back into the deck. So Survival with the Melody, Runechants with the Reed, and an attack action go again with the Meet and Greet, just so important for your Sonata pop-off turns. So following my pass to draw up, the Bravo's got plenty of opportunities to come in with pressure. They've got the Arsenal slots, they've got the Surge, and they're coming in with the Rouse go again for 7, which is a considerable amount initially anyway. I don't really want to let my health get too low still, so I do end up blocking for the 3. And then there's the Hammer Swing coming in for 6, which I do take to set up next turn. I feel the remaining cards in hand are probably worth taking that damage to get some decent Runechants going in and continue stacking them. The Righteous Cleansing revealed probably should have been played, having talked to my opponent after the game. And it was quite pivotal with how the game swung. He had a red pummeling Arsenal and the Surge token for next turn. So the Righteous for 14 and the Banish for discard. And when you see the hand I drew into following this turn, it would have been brutal to have to deal with losing the cards I would have done. So, due to my decision making last turn, I do get a lone Runechant set up with the Oath before arsenaling a defense reaction for a bit of extra protection from any dominated effects which might be coming through. Opponent Semper having a bit of a think about what he wants to do going forwards. He didn't set up the Seismic Surge token last turn with his line of play, so he's doing that this turn instead. However, it does mean that his hand isn't ideal for the floating resources and everything else he's got going on, and he's just having to think about what he does want to do at this point. He does choose to pitch out the rest of his hand, including that Righteous, for the yellow disable, coming in for 8 and freshening that Arsenal slot. And in this situation, I am more than happy to just give up that Arsenal with the reduce. I don't really want to see it going to the bottom. I don't really want to block out with my hand either, so I'm more than happy to just block the 4, take the 4, and create another Runechant and keep them stacking up to that sort of 23 to 28 magic number where I really have a high chance of polishing off the Bravo in that single turn. And now for the hand, which would have been seen on the Righteous Cleansing Crush proc, which is double meet and greet and double Oath of the Arknights, which is potentially devastating loss with the meet and greets upon banish. They're just so good with the go agains, and one of which being a blue is perfect for this turn. It's the perfect pitch of one red, one blue for 4, which allows me to get both Oath of the Arknights off, creating 3 rune tokens loaded, and totaling up to 17 at this point, getting close to the point where I just want to potentially look for a way to arsenal either a Sonata or become the Arknight to search out for that Sonata before my health dips a little bit too low further the game goes on. So my opponent does come in with the go again Zealous Belting, which is at its health. I do need to block something to keep myself somewhat healthy. Especially with a hammer coming through for another 6. So I'll partially block the Zealous Belting, leaking 2 damage, and then choose to block out the hammer for 6. Sorry for missing that other card. I'll try to make sure I don't do that again, but I've obviously decided that the other cards in my hand weren't enough to justify taking that extra damage, especially when that one remaining is the red Read the Runes, creating another 3 rune chance. I definitely had some merit on waiting and arsenaling that card to gamble on a Mordred Tide, but decided apparently it was just right just to chuck it out there and that'll be that. And whilst that was all happening, unfortunately my opponent had drawn one too many cards, which I believe is a cheeky IP2 penalty, I believe, but we decided it might be a little harsh for our casual match. We just selected a card at random to go to the bottom of his deck and moved on like nothing ever happened. So Bravo leads off with another Zealous Belting for 5 with the go again, which really does make sense coming from such a local Prism meta up in Manchester, which is it's good to see techs coming in and actually making use in other matchups as well. It definitely provides a lot more validation for them. And I'm sitting at 11 right now. I need to get something down to block that, which, especially when I'm staring down another 6 for hammer, with such a clumsy hand leading into it, I choose the block for 2, going down to 5, which I'm terrified about because that's pummel range, get dangerously close to that point. But I do get the red melody down as a little bit of a safety net and a little bit extra protection going forwards. But with a follow-up of a naked spinal turn, I just choose to block out for 6 with the melody as well, full blocking it, and my last 2 cards in hand are slightly spicy, being the bread and butter Runechant generation of the Mordred Tides into Red Read the Runes, creating another 6 Runechants, getting to that 26 points. So the final piece of the puzzle I'm looking for is either the Sonata or become the Arknight to make sure we're getting there. We're almost at the point where I can do something and their health totals don't quite look so scary for the rest of the game. So I am basically cacking it at this point, to put it lightly. I've got a very sneaky suspicion it's a pummel in the arsenal, and there is a nude spinal crush coming in, no dominate or foregoing buffs on it. So I do decide just to block out for 6 of all the equipment I've been saving, telegraphing pretty heavily to my opponent that I've got some way to pop off with a Sonata next turn. And even if he did have the pummel coming over the top, I do have the defense reaction in hand of the reduced Runechant to block that off. And it turns out he is the red pummel in the arsenal, and he was 1 pitch short of getting that off, which would have been a bit inconvenient, to be honest, because my hand's a bunch of blues as well, which is definitely useful going forwards. Now it is time for our purple Power Ranger to actually do something for this game. And I did become the Arknight to obviously search out for Sonata, unfortunately discarding the blue attack action, which does hurt. Having a blue in hand on your Sonata turn is always good, but thankfully my other card in hand was the blue Meet and Greet, which I felt had a bit more utility, guaranteeing the go again from the Donata damage on Sonata or the Runechant, but also applying the on-hit pressure. And as we've said, obvious reasons, I search out the Sonata mechanics because it is the core of the deck. It's known to be pretty good in situations where you've got 26 Runechants. So we do pop the Blood Chief Skeletor, so which does reduce my next attack action and non-attack action by how many number of Runechants I have in play. In this case, 26 cheaper. Yeah, so I can Sonata for 16 cards shown, where X would be 13 in this instance. And from this setup, I do manage. It felt proper bad watching this back still, how many non-attack actions I get before I start sacking some attack. And I do get the Knife Blade there. Absolutely beautiful card in the OTK turns. It's really good in this instance. It can be really good if you're setting up a second cycle, which is usually worth it against Oldham and potentially Bravo sometimes. Reducing the cost down to a 4 attack for 9 is usually pretty good. However, the cards I got were pretty good still. I was pretty happy with that. I got the Blue Vexin, Knife Blade, Blue Dread, Blue Meet and Greet again, CSC, and a Red Rune Flash, which are they're all pretty good cards in fairness. I can't really 6 arcane pings on their side, which it always feels good. It's good to get damage off. I've activated all my attacks which require arcane to have gone through as a conditional proposition to be met. And got some big hitters in there with the Knife Blade as well to swing through with in a second. I've got some nice go again with both the Meet and Greet and the Rune Flash, so I can string together a few attacks. And as you can see, the Knife Blade drops down onto the board for 9 with 27 Runechants first. And you can see my man over here it's just spamming that phone, getting his health right down to 7. One factoring in the 6 taken from the Sonata previously, which is often quite a wise move when considering the number of on-hits we do have. Access to blocking out the attack actions and stopping those on-hits is a lot better than, or probably a lot more efficient than stopping 3 damage pitching your blue. It's pretty incomparable. So despite not having go again at this point in time, we are currently discussing in game my abilities to give it go again, and I do indeed have the Suede Hide boots. It's always feel good. For one, guaranteed at go again on any attack action. Knife Blade is such a strong attack. That's 33 damage being presented along with my Runechant total. So having that then go again for 1 extra pitch, I've effectively paid 1 to attack for 33 go again with mixed damage. They do block out with the 2 pieces of equipment, now asking me for attack reactions, which I will put those Suede Hides down. He does have a Sink Below in hand, however, which does only mean 1 chip damage goes through following the damage resolution turn, but it's something which I do feel is good at this point. We're down to 2 health. Ideally, I will kill him this turn. If not, then I've probably got 1 more turn to force something through. So getting as much 1s, 2s soaking through in these follow-up turns is really, really important now. So even getting that 1 extra on top following the Sink Below is really, really useful. At this point, whilst we're waiting for that damage to go through, I will just say, please do leave any feedback you have about the editing, the gameplay, my commentary. I know I've rambled on for quite a bit now, so please do let me know what you think in the comments, and a bit of constructive criticism will never hurt anyone. So following up from that previous attack, I do play my first Blue Meet and Greet, which still felt pretty good, despite Reds being generally better. It does force usually a wasted block, especially in a deck like Guardian with so many free blocks, as it does only attack for 2. Or they accept the 2 damage and then risk giving over another Runechant due to the on-hit effect. Plus with the Sonata and the Chant Density hitting, go again is guaranteed, which is it's always pretty nice in a deck like this. They do decide not blocking. It's a bit risky, So they do throw down the disable to stop that damage, but only to face my second meet and greet coming through. We're just taking a second at the moment in game, chatting over what cards he can recall in my hand, which he does correctly recall: CNC, Red Rune Flash, a Blue Tread Triptych, and a card unknown to him, which is my Reduced to Runechant still in hand. With that Red Rune Flash in hand, we did pretty much come to the conclusion that it was probably best to block this out to not reduce the cost of the Rune Flash by another one pitch. So we do end up blocking that out to just deny that on hit effect, and again stack up that chip damage. It's probably also worth mentioning that at the moment there's a slight discrepancy in the health totals, where they took an arcane ping from Runechant twice without declaring the first time, but thankfully it didn't really impact the game going forwards as well, which is always nice when that happens, especially watching back on a turn like this where so much is going on and there's so much to keep track of. So as that meet and greet attack resolves, we do come in with the Rune Flash, pitching 3 with 1 floating to allow for 4 going through. They do take the arcane ping from the Runechant, block out of his last card for 3, 1 floating over the top, as it is a red Rune Flash, excuse me, meaning 1 chip damage over the top, which does allow me to pitch 1 more for Command and Conquer to close out the game. I'd like to say thank you all so much for watching. Please do feel free to like and to subscribe for more content, and I hope you all have a lovely day. Cheers, guys.